MP Arian, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, colleagues, everyone viewing. Minister, thank you for the answers given thus far. Minister, so I'm not a legal expert like some of us inside of here, but I do have some resources, and we did have to deal with the whole DDAM case while in government. And during the break, I just contacted a person, a legal mind from the Netherlands that also has experience in this, and just want to summarize a little bit, or maybe go back a little bit on what the DDAM case was about. The DDAM case, in summary, was about transparency and equal opportunity. I think you mentioned that. And the person says it's about fair and open selection, which you also kind of indicated. And something that I learned during my term was they wanted it to be about fair competition and about public announcement so that everyone had a fair opportunity to say, hey, this land is available. I should be able to have access to this land too, no matter what list there was before. And that wasn't done ever in the past. And that there would be legal consequences for failure to comply. I also specifically asked, or we had a discussion in here with a couple of MPs, I would say, because I remember while being there, and we had a couple of cases dealing with a notary, and I went back to this lawyer just to get confirmation from the Netherlands on this topic. I specifically asked the notary and the lawyer at that time, and our legal advisors at that time, if there was any kind of development on the government land, right? The lease is over and becomes available, does that mean that even that land then has to go back into this fair policy? And they said, yes. Once you do not have a land policy that indicates, hey, if you have any type of infrastructure built on the land, that then this person gets first preference, or this person then gets the first choice to execute, or it just automatically goes over to this person, then everything goes back into the pool, basically. Everything becomes fair game. So then what then government will have to decide is then that the structures on top there, the infrastructure, the person then could decide, hey, yes, I want this land, and I'm willing to absorb this cost to whoever the owner was before. But it states, because I also asked, so I said, okay, confirm for me. It said, no, lease land with property on it should not be given out without a clear land policy that explicitly allows it. That's the same thing that was told to us then, and even with legal. So I'm going to ask a question now, because what you stated was basically your opinion and my opinion. So I'm going to ask, do you, as a minister, the ministry, did you get legal advice on, at least within government, on the fact of property already being on the long lease land and being allowed to given out without a land policy indicating so? And even if you decide to do that, it had to be publicly announced. And that goes back now to the whole Maho situation. I want to be very clear on this. Was Maho reissuance or an extension? Was it reissuance or an extension? And yes, there was a whole investigation going on with cadastre and so forth. Can we get an update on the whole cadastre situation, or any updates that the government can give us on that situation? Yeah, I'll leave it there and just look forward to the answers, and then I guess deal with it in clarifications.
Thank you, MP Arian. The next speaker up is MP Peterson. MP Peterson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I'll take this opportunity to elucidate on a couple of topics that were mentioned, just for some clarity. To start off, MP Arian mentioned if a parcel of land is built on, then that also falls in the pool. I believe that the lawyer he's speaking to has things a little confused, because when it comes to the civil aspect of things, natrekking is a thing. So if you build your house on top of government long lease land, Government, when your long lease expires after 60 years or whatever, government indeed has the moment to reissue or not. Now, that moment is a momentopname. It's not automatic that you get a reissuance. But if you look at the legality of things, first of all, if government wants to remove you from that property that you have in long lease and that you built your house on, government has to pay you out fully for the value of whatever you have there. That's number one. So as the facilitator of long lease land, government in no way is deemed to be the one to take back your long lease after you have already built on it. That is not the intention of giving off long lease, if you read the law. So to put the Maho case, so to say, within the same boat, Maho was originally 3 parcels. So if we're going to be very technical, all 3 of those parcels have something on it, whether it's an infrastructural or a building permit. There is a permit on it, volgens de bouwverordening. So built on, that criteria has been met. Now, when it comes to a reissuance of a zakelijk recht, which is an erfpacht, that is a civil code. The DIDAM arrest, that goes over the decision-making. The decision to issue land is deemed unlawful because there is nothing regulating that. That is what this is about. So I heard today we spoke about notaries hindering the process. It doesn't work like that. The notaries have what we call the wet of the notarisamt. They have what we call a notariële aansprakelijkheid. And I think in St. Martin, I think they have to be insured for about $1 million minimum. But basically, the notary bears the risk when they pass a deed. So that is the issue. The issue is that the decision by a minister of Vromi to issue land is automatically deemed unlawful volgens de DIDAM arrest if there is no policy. The DIDAM arrest also explains that from 2021 and up, you have to do it different. So we need to be very careful when we inform the public of these things because people out there, they want land. They think that government land is something easy to get. They think that it's a legacy. I can be very clear and honest because MP Lakou spoke about it, that normally you go to Cadastre and you ask if there is available government land and they give you a list. That is also not true. What Cadastre has is a system where they have every meetbrief and they can show you within that system of all of these meetbrieven which have a notarial deed on it. That is simply objective information that anybody can go to Cadastre to get, not only MPs or the Ministry of Vromi. Anybody can go to Cadastre and get that information because that is what a deed is. That is what Cadastre does. They're the registry for onroerende zaken. So if you go to the Cadastre and you find a piece of land, so to say, that is available, meaning it doesn't have a deed or it wasn't deeded, that piece of land still might have a property on it. It still might have been built on in the past. And that means that that piece of property that you would then go and rightfully request, because there's nothing on it, we would send inspection in Vromi. They would go, they'd be like, oh, wait a minute, this is a piece of land with no deed on it, but there is already a structure on it, which then translates into the civil law. There's something on it, door natrekking, now you have to pay out whoever is there, whether or not they were there with permission or not. They invested their money, that is their property, on top of the property of the government. So it gets a little tricky when it comes to the legalities of things, but I just wanted to make it clear that if we are going to cut out everybody from the past, I personally believe that legally that can't happen. If you look at the principles of good governance, everybody deserves an answer, and I think that the minister also alluded to the fact that everybody is going to get an answer, but the answer is not to be a formality. If somebody requested in 1979 land, of course you're going to check if that person is alive, but we can't say that somebody that requested land in the year 2020 also falls under the same boat, although it's also in the past. So I think a case-by-case basis is how you have to look at it, but requesting land from back then, if said person is alive, then I am of the serious opinion that if said person still wants a piece of land, that they should get an answer before anybody else that has requested after them or even now, after the DIDAM arrest. That's fair. You know, so I think that when it comes to that aspect of it, maybe some discussions need to be had. But other than that, I think for me, the presentation was pretty clear. Of course, I can understand the confusion for some MPs, and it's justified because I also was a little bit alarmed when I heard, okay, everybody from the past is now going to be cut out. That's not actually what I have been speaking about these last couple of years. I actually want to make it fair to everybody. Whether or not they get a piece of land, they still need to get an answer. When we look at what happened, for example, by Over the Bank, I believe it was MP York who alluded to it, or MP Irian, when you asked about the land being placed publicly, something like that. You said, I think I'm looking at MP Irian. I think that he referred to the land being having to be announced before. Yeah. So back in 2016, when I started working in domain, under the then minister, one of my first cases was the over the bank case. And the then minister requested the Department of Domain Affairs, and the acting head of domain was also there as well back then, so she can attest to it. Over the bank property came about. It was about 80,000 square meters, and the minister wanted a plan from the ministry to issue the property. That was my first case, so like MP Arian quite rightfully said, my first instinct was, okay, first of all, we announce it, that there is land in over the bank to be given off in long lease. Our second step was to gather all of the requests that people, and it doesn't matter if they requested in the 70s, like you said, people requested specifically for that area. We took all of those requests, it was about 200 and something, almost 300, and we categorized them, the requests of the people who requested land in that area. Once we did that, we categorized them in young professionals, established career professionals, etc., students or whatever. After that, we decided to take that and say, okay, you have, I think it was about 50 parcels, about 300 requests. Our proposal to the minister was, let's bring this information, these 300 requests, and the availability to the notary. Tell the notary that maybe 5 of these parcels can be given off at the minister's discretion for exceptional purposes, but the rest need to be done via onafhankelijke loting, a lottery system where objectively they get picked by the notary who gets the land and who not. And this is actually an example of where I can attest to the fact that government, or actually the civil service, tried to do the right thing. And once we brought this proposal to the minister, within 2 minutes of hearing it, he shut it down. He went into his desk, he brought out the USB, and on that USB he had 50 decrees already made up and 50 advices already made up just for the Department of Domain Affairs to just sign and go ahead with. So to answer one of the MPs that asked, since when has this corruption been going on? It's been going on forever. So we need to actually start from scratch now to fix it. And I just wanted to finish off with that little anecdote. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Peterson. Minister, we have come to the end of the questions in the second round, and I will now adjourn for 5 minutes to again hear from the minister how he would like to proceed. Yes, so I'll adjourn for 5 minutes. Meeting adjourned.